Well, good afternoon to you all, good afternoon. It is today, Sunday, the 7th of July 2024. Being a Sunday, of course, I've done all the Sunday morning sort of stuff. And so Sunday afternoon, I'm going to shoot down to a Brocante. We'll love a good Brocante at Douadic. Now, I've taken you to Douadic before when we went to the tomato fair. And it's true that there's nothing in particular that I'm looking for today, but Sunday afternoon, can't run lawnmowers, can't make lots of noise, which is one of the lovely features here. So going to Brocante is not a bad thing to do on a Sunday afternoon. Next Sunday we'll be going to the Brocante at Villiers. That's an absolute must, regardless as to who wins the election today. We're going to the Brocante next Sunday. Political news in the world. Well, today is the second vote for the French government election. Strange times we're living in. People's memories seem to have failed them, and lots of people seem to want to vote for some of the most despicable politicians in the world. Funny that. Of course, the United Kingdom had its own election last Thursday, and a particularly despicable bunch got voted out. But it's quite a scary sort of situation where an awful lot of people still vote for some very despicable people. Ho-hum, that's life, I guess. Let's not worry too much about that. We'll go and look at some old rubbish for sale in a Brocante. Never know, we might buy something. Or we might not. Right, well, we'll take that as an instruction. Here we are, and the Brocante is not in the middle of the town. And it's not just a Brocante, it's a fete, it's interesting. And of course the first thing we see is that there's cars. How about that? And there's tractors. That's good, isn't it? And there's things to look at. I think we're going to have a quick wander around the Brocante. We're going to look at all the old tut, and then we're going to come back and spend a little bit of time looking at some of these other things. I think that's a plan. But I guess I ought to leave the camera running just long enough to show whatever that is. That's just what I need for hacking around these little country lanes, isn't it? Right, let's turn you off, go and have a serious look, and then we'll come back and look at some of these things. Yes, there's lots of stuff. If I see anything really interesting, I'll show you, don't worry. But it is the standard collection of stuff. Well, lots of interesting things. He said, leaving it for you to think, what a load of rubbish. No, there were some very interesting things, nothing that spoke to me. So I haven't picked anything up. You know, the simple truth is, I've got enough old tut in my life without buying other people's tut. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of these wonderful things to see. Now I know one of you is going to get all sort of weak at the knees looking at this little deux chevaux fourgonnette. But let's look at some of these wonderful things. And I'm going to have to look at the petrol tanks rather a lot because I don't know French motorcycles. So what is this? That's very pretty, isn't it? A Tero. I had heard of those. Very, very pretty. And isn't that just wonderful? If I offer them 50 euros, do you reckon they'll say yes? Or do you reckon they'll just laugh? These aren't for sale, this is an exhibition, I should add. Now, if we go behind this queue that is all queuing up for plates of chips and things, there's some wonderful, wonderful tractors. And with tractors, you know, I'm sort of limited. I'm going to say that's a green one and that's a rusty one and that's a red one. But hopefully we'll find some better details than that. Now, some of you will know all about David Brown's. The plate on it says it's a 30D, whereas this, well, I don't know what it is. It's big, it's old, it's rather wonderful, isn't it? This is more my sort of size, this one. Little McCormick International. One day maybe. Made in USA. In Chicago, no less. Now, I've left the camera running because I thought I really need to just walk around this wonderful little car, whatever it is. Now it's taxed and it's tested and insured and all that sort of thing. But what a wonderful little car. That's all you need, really, isn't it? Now a big old Ford, well the number on the side says it's 5095, otherwise I wouldn't have known that. It's blue, it's a blue tractor, and behind it is a green and yellow tractor, so obviously a John Deere, and a bicycle. And for the 2CV fans, well, yeah, how about that? But I'm going to have a little look in this corner. Now, I made a comment a little while ago about a lot of the Jeeps that you see here are not American Jeeps. And what we need to do is have a look at the plate. And this one says that it is. It says it's a Willys. And of course, Jeeps were built in France after the unpleasantness, and for reliability the French-made ones, the post-war ones, are actually much better. 12-volt electrics and all that sort of thing. And, you know, peacetime build. During the unpleasantness they were knocking these things out sort of 10 every 3 minutes or something. Post-war ones, they could spend a little bit longer building them more nicely. And you can't have a tractor show without a little grey Fergie. Oh dear. Leaking coolant. That's not so good. And a Fordson Major. And then this little car for going shopping and driving around the village lanes. I guess a lot of people will be saying, gee, wow, and things like that, and awesome. I'm just looking at it thinking, well, it wouldn't fit, would it? Whereas this little car is a much better thing to have for getting around here. And I guess we ought to just walk along and take a little shufti at all of these other interesting motor cars. These are I think they're one of the most elegant cars. A Citroen traction avant, front wheel drive. Wonderful, wonderful cars. As are these. These, when they were first introduced, were, well, firstly very expensive, but secondly very, very futuristic for their time. You might have caught a glimpse of something that we understand a little bit better. An Austin Healey 3 litre on a British number plate. So I wonder if it's someone over here for the holidays. The quirky Citroen Ami. I say quirky. They sold quite a lot of them, but at the end of the, let's see if I can get a decent side view on it. It's quirky, isn't it? I think we can use that word. Just, wouldn't you love to strap yourself into that? Might be on a British number plate, but it's left-hand drive. Sure there's a story there somewhere. And if you can't get enough Austin Healeys, well, let's just turn round, because there's another one. It's not something you'll see every day. 2 Austin, whoops, that's had a little whoopsie on that one. That I'll reduce what I offer him for it. And a little Triumph, is that a TR3? TR3A, something like that. Wonderful vehicles. And if you don't mind building your own, why not have, now I wonder what it is it a Dutton, or, yeah, depending on how old it is, it could be one of several different cars. You know, I always thought of these as Lotuses. And I was going to say that's the end of the show, and I guess it is, but just for good measure, there's another one up here. Wonderful, absolutely superb. Okay. And then someone arrived in I'll say a kit car. This is what you can do with a Citroen 2CV if you really want to. It starts life with... Bonjour, monsieur. Starts life with basically a Citroen 2CV engine. But after that, it's sort of somewhat radically different, isn't it?